Come here. Get off.
Welcome back to season 3. Here we are. We made it to season 3. Can you believe it? Like,
it's amazing.
Yeah, we're dope. And we knew
we're
that
dope.
This was gonna happen. But like, really, dog, season 3, like, we growing up. We're toddlers.
We here.
We like yanking shit down and
toddlers are terrible.
Having fits on carpets and eating toilet paper. All the things that toddlers losing their bones. That's places. What they do. They like go wibbly. Yeah. That's us.
That's us.
Boneless toddlers. Okay, so we are back for season 3, and we are going to open the season by reading from Queen of Barrakesch, which was written in 2020 by the fabulous Delaney Diamond. So sit back, relax, get your wine. I know y'all been waiting to hear this. Get your wine, get your weed, get your whatever you need, and enjoy.
Queen of Barrakesch by Delaney Diamond. Imani faced her husband. Came to claim your marital rights? If you think by talking to me like that you'll turn me away, you're mistaken. Can't blame me for trying. I'm not a monster, Imani. So I imagined everything that took place over the past couple of months. With deliberate slowness, Wasim came toward her and stopped, inches away. The earthy fragrance of his cologne and the underlying scent of oud drifted into her nostrils. As he dipped his head, his lips grazed her hair and his breath brushed her earlobe. Do you remember that night in Astoria? You have no idea how difficult it was to stop kissing you. I've craved you for so long, and tonight, I won't stop. Tonight. He kissed behind her ear, and the textured softness of his beard added another dimension of sensation. Tonight, I will know every inch of you. She turned away and tried to fight a response to his closeness, his scent, his virility as he towered over her. But Wasim placed a hand at the back of her neck and pulled her into a crushing kiss. Her senses went into an uproar as threads of heat raced through her body. That night, that kiss, and all context since then had placed a constant strain on her willpower. Now she was free to give in, and she needed more. Imani wanted to press her aching nipples against his chest to ease the sexual irritation caused by his kisses, but Wasim refused. He held her at bay. In the midst of plundering her mouth, he somehow managed to maintain control while she was on the verge of performing a lewd grind against his hips. When he tore his lips from hers, Imani gasped in frustration. Show me, he rasped, taking one of her wrists and scouring the henna designs. She knew immediately what he wanted to see. Here, Imani said quietly, pointing to her inner forearm where his name was hidden in the pattern. And here, the other artist had hidden his name in the same spot on her left forearm. He whispered something she didn't understand and then kissed her again hard and long. When he finally stopped, he stripped out of his clothes and Imani's mouth went dry. For years, she'd only had her imagination for an idea of what Wasim must look like underneath his clothes, but her mind had fallen far short of the reality. His classic male physique consisted of sculpted muscles that ran the length of his body from shoulders to calves. His athletic build made her want to reach out and stroke his firm chest, run her hands down his flat belly, or squeeze the muscles that bulged from his thighs. Wisps of dark hair trailed from his chest to his pelvis and made a path down his legs. He moved closer, oozing sexual energy and masculine grace. Your turn. Within seconds, he removed her clothes and was on top of her on the bed. To think, she planned to lie there on the mattress as an unwilling participant, but that thought had been quickly dismissed the moment he kissed her. Hunger battered her loins, and she kissed Wasim with all the pent-up desire that had banked over time. When his finger slipped between her lower lips, she twisted in shock. You're already so wet. You burn for this as much as I do. He groaned against her collarbone. She succumbed to the battering ram of his seduction, gripping his powerful shoulders and twisting her head to claim his mouth. She sucked on his bottom lip and thrust her tongue between his lips. He became almost brutal as he devoured her and matched her ardor. He stretched her hands above her head and clamped her wrists together with one hand. Then his tongue whisked over the tip of one breast while the other bore the brunt of his hands fondling. He squeezed and kneaded and dragged his thumb across the turgid nipple until she was arching her back and writhing in the sheets. Wasim went lower, alternating between kisses and whispering erotic words against her skin. Do you know how many times I've dreamed about this night? How many times I've imagined you naked? He slid his hands beneath her and his fingers pressed into her bottom as he lifted her to his face. His mouth covered her wet, feminine flesh and her head fell back. She grabbed the pillows as she lost her bearing, dizzy with pleasure as his lips and tongue devoured her with relish like a man under the harsh lash of starvation. With one heel propped against his shoulder and fingers gripping a handful of his hair, Imani gasped and whimpered, leaving her legs open so he could take what he wanted from between her quivering thighs. She came only moments later and trembled through an earth-shattering orgasm. Wasim cradled her body in his arms and waited until her breathing was back to normal before he resumed his exploration. He truly did learn every inch of her. Back, front, thighs, arms, breast. Not one square inch remained untouched as they made love. He sank his fingers into her hair and brushed his hands over her curves. Gathering her breasts in his hands and sucking her swollen nipples, he made her desire heat up once again to boiling. She wanted him so badly the aching spot between her legs grew wetter every time his hair-roughened thigh brushed against her tender flesh. She bit her lips to resist the urge to beg, but didn't know how long that would last if he didn't take her soon. As if he heard her silent plea, Wasim shifted. Gripping his erection, he looked at her with darkened eyes, his face intent. He settled over her on one arm and brought the broad head of his erection to kiss the entrance of her body. As he sank into her, she shifted her hips up and absorbed the slide of his hard length. She almost wept, shuddering her eyes as he took full possession of her body. Groaning, her mouth open, Imani shuddered. You're so tight, so wet. Wasim let out a helpless groan. Then his hips were in motion, slowly at first as they got accustomed to each other, but then he increased his speed. The mattress groaned under the weight of his forceful thrust and her body arched higher. He whispered sensual words to her in Arabic, telling her how soft her skin was and how good it felt to be inside her. You're mine now, he whispered. Her eyes flew open. He seized her mouth and she became filled in two places. Her arms went around his neck, gripping him close while he sucked her ear and her neck, never once losing the in and out rhythm. Imani guided the fingers of one hand into his thick hair, and then she was airborne, shuddering through another climax that rocked her with the force of an earthquake. As Wasim's heated grunts beat against her throat, her pulsing cries bounced off the walls. She'd never experienced this with any other man. It was surreal. She moved her hips in the frenzy of motion so she wouldn't miss a single note of his pleasure-giving thrust. In the middle of her orgasm, Imani achieved some clarity. She hated clarity and wished she could go back to not knowing that she loved him, and all this time, she'd been in deep denial. The truth was a terrible burden to carry in a marriage of convenience based solely on a promise and a political pact. She curled her fingers into tight fists at the back of his head and silently responded to what he said. Yes, I'm yours.
And we are back. So, that was a really great snippet from Queen of Barrakesch, written by Delaney Diamond. So, I'm going to start by just giving us a general overview of the story without spoiling anything.
Yes, no spoilers.
Kenrya, you know I'm horrible at telling a story, so
No,
just
you're not.
interrupt when I need to. Yeah, I am. But, I mean, it's a fun romp, but you're going to be like, bitch, what? Okay, so... two main characters, Amani and Prince Wasim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Midwestern tongue. So Amani is the ambassador from Zambia to the Kingdom of Barrakesch. And in her job as ambassador, she's worked closely with Prince Wasim, who is the prince to the Kingdom of Barrakesch. So Amani's family is like pressing her out. Like, girl, you need to get married. And they are trying to set up an arranged marriage. Prince Wasim's family looks at him as like next in line. Like, everyone looks at him like, oh, he'd be next in line for the throne, but he's not married. He's a bachelor. This will be a problem. But it's not really a problem because the king is fine. He ain't going nowhere. So they're like, we'll jump that bridge, cross that monkey when we get to it. Jump that bridge, cross that monkey. So in the story, the king calls Wasim to his house and is like, hey, bruh, I'm sick. I'm gonna die very soon. I would make you king, but you unmarried. So the prince is like, oh, but dad, you don't know. I got a woman and I plan to propose to her. So you can name me king. So,
yeah, okay, yes, that does happen eventually.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, again, I'm fucked up on these stories, on this storytelling. Especially when I can't like tell the spoilers. So Prince Wasim knows that Amani's family is pressing her out to get married. So he's like, look, how about we just act like we're going to get engaged? We'll stay engaged until my dad dies. Once he dies, then bam, we can break off the engagement. You can go back home. Your family, that gives you a little bit more time to get your family off your back. And then that gets me the kingdom. So they agreed to it. Then, of course, the king dies and they're like, let's make this a marriage. And so then they choose to marry. Hijinks ensue. And this scene that we just read picks up on their wedding night. Mm-hmm. I got it?
Yes.
Fill it
I only
in.
got two things.
Color it in, girl.
No,
Color
I'm
it
not
in
even
line.
coloring in. So the country that she's from is called Zamibia.
Oh.
Well, because it looks like Zambia, but they made up, just like they made up Barrakesch or whatever.
Oh, I fucked that pooch.
It's fine. It does look like Zambia. And it was Imani's idea, not his.
Oh, my bad. See? Fucking it up. But anyway.
You got it.
Y'all got the gristle of the story. So.
The part that gives it structure.
Yes, y'all got the gristle. So the scene that we read was their wedding night. And like good little doobies, they decided there has been sexual tension in their relationship. They like had like a fleeting kiss years ago, but they've never like done the do. They haven't like, he ain't even like finger popped her once or twice. Like they have been like just good little doobies. Chaste. So this is wedding night sex. So yeah. You know,
you miss sex. Look at your face.
I do. I miss sex. But I actually was going to be like, wedding night sex is not like, everyone talks like wedding night sex is great. And here's the thing. Wedding night sex falls in two categories. Either one, you've never fucked a day in your life. And then it's like losing your virginity on the main stage. which sounds fucking horrible. I
Are
can't
there
tell you
still
about
a lot
that.
of those people? I guess there probably are.
I mean, yeah.
Especially
Or
if you're like following the tenets of your religion, which lots of them,
say,
including Wasim's,
yes,
say
say
that you
no
should not
fucking
have
before
sex before
marriage.
marriage. So he's Muslim and Imani is Christian, which we didn't say.
Um, or y'all been fucking all the time and it's just another night to fuck, right? So I think
Right.
wedding night sex is overrated. I remember the night of my wedding, I was just so fucking tired. I don't even think we did it that night just because there was so much going on. And I didn't have like a big, wild wedding. Like, we had a little afternoon joint and then we all went to a bar that evening. But it was just,
Cute.
you had
It
been
was a
like,
bar.
yeah. And
Oh, maybe I didn't go.
some man like offered to like, he like said something lewd to my mama.
Oh, shit.
We were like in St. Louis. It was like one of those big drunk.
I had my kid. I don't think I made it out. Because I
You
don't remember
probably
that.
didn't. Yeah, it was like a. Anyway, so it was that. But I couldn't imagine having like a whole day of stuff and then a big old wedding reception and all the
And they had a
accoutrements.
massive wedding. They had like more than 1,000 people.
Yeah, this
at
was
their
like a
wedding in this
state
book.
wedding.
Yeah.
I could not imagine doing all that shit and then coming in, busting out of this dress, titties probably been smashed in on the left side or right or both, and then expecting to do the do. So
Yeah.
this is for Erica to go down in history as saying wedding night sex is overrated. Bust it open the night before.
Well,
few
a lot
days
of people don't
after.
like to see each other right before. I don't remember if I had sex on my wedding.
Y'all can do a cute little glory hole situation the night before.
Oh my God. Dude, I legit don't remember. I remember going to City Hall. I remember that we went to Red
We went to
Lobster
Red Lobster. We took the train to Red Lobster.
and that's probably
Because
where
that's how we celebrate significant events. Because we two hoes from the Midwest that are classy than a motherfucker.
But I don't remember anything else that day. Whatever.
Whatever. Fuck it. That's your mind blocking out good. That's your mind protecting yourself.
Oh, thank you, mind.
But yeah, so wedding night sex is just so overrated. But I mean,
Not in this case.
yeah, in this case, it actually was. And you know what? So I can't remember in the book, but were they both virgins? I don't think they were
No,
virgins.
Neither of them was a virgin.
Which
They just
okay,
hadn't done together.
which I guess that would be a cute little wedding night situation. If it's like, I know how this pussy works. I just haven't put this pussy on you, right? As opposed to
I knew
we
that.
just like that's a whole
They're
different
fumbling in the
situation.
dark.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
it does.
It was terrible the first time.
Yeah. So okay, I guess that is a good. I guess that is good to.
Yeah, because they had built up, like, I was ready for it to be hot because they had
Girl, I
literally
was
years
I was like,
of
look,
built up tension.
if you don't throw it on him, I am.
Exactly.
Because also this man, there's something about a hairy man. Is just fix your face. He was written beautifully. Like he
Yeah,
sounds like he was a beautiful man, and I'm thinking about
his skin being golden.
yeah, just some
Like,
and muscles and hair and just masculineness. I would have so it actually did seem like a good their wedding night sex was a good wedding night because it was more we've been holding out waiting for this and now I'm about to put this pussy on him, which we have a few friends that were fucking in their relationship and then when they got engaged they stopped.
Yep.
Remember that conversation? Were you with us?
I was like, the fuck
When
are
our friend
you
was
doing?
like, you don't let him pet it? Just let him pet it a little bit.
I do indeed remember that conversation. One of our friends, and her soon-to-be husband, they legit just stopped
Fucking for I think it was 3-4 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
In preparation for when they got married. I'm like, he been fucking,
y'all been doing it nasty all up, and you just try not to get pregnant. Yeah. And so we were discussing this, and another one of our girlfriends was like, but you don't let them pet it? Just pet it a little bit. And this is actually one of our more tame, calm girlfriends in the bed.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, hell, she recognizes that if you got in-house supply, at least let them pet it.
Yeah, but that worked for them. I'm not strong enough.
I was about to say, have you ever been in a relationship where you've like had to like, where you wanted to like intentionally wait for sex? Like, okay, we're not gonna do it.
Not since high school.
not since the store opened. Has it
fucking been fucking?
Not since fucking been fucking.
Yeah, in college, I think I definitely still was of the I gotta wait a certain amount of time. But I remember even then thinking that certain amount of time kept getting shorter.
It was like I had to wait 3 months. Okay, 60 days.
Yeah.
All right, we gonna give them a date. Over $75.
Exactly. It definitely got shorter and shorter. Because I didn't have even my first one night stand until I was good and grown and living in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first one. Ooh. Yeah, my first one night, like where I knew like we just fucking and this is it. I ain't got to see you again. I was a lot older, but it was fun.
Mine too. Which one was my first one? Listen, I've only had 3, but I feel like they were all within a little period of time.
It was a phase.
It definitely was. Ooh, I don't even remember which one of those was first, but the one that I'm thinking of that might have been first was not great.
Was that the nigga that followed you back?
No, that was good.
Okay.
It was with one of our college friends on a lost weekend.
Oh shit. Boop, put a pin in that one. We'll get back to that later. Offline. But yeah, I definitely like it took a minute for me to like get comfortable with the idea of a one night stand. Like
same.
Going into it being like, nigga, I ain't gonna see you again, but
and being really clear about that and not just thinking it but saying it and knowing it.
Yes, girl, now I'll be like, don't take off your shoes, just pull your pants down for a little bit, will you? Yeah,
this will be quick. Don't get comfortable.
Don't get comfortable. That's always fun on vacation too.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to worry about
that. My first one actually was the one on vacation, and then that nigga did follow me back.
He was in New York. He was like, hey, come to Harlem.
Yeah. Literally.
That is no fucking fun.
It was good though.
But yeah, I think I did go through a period where I thought I like him, so I'm going to wait to have sex with him. Mm-hmm. And then I'll fuck somebody else. Mm. And yeah, I don't know what I think now that I think it through, my thinking was flawed because it's like
either you're going to click or you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Work or it's not when you fuck.
Yeah. And I think that I felt like sex became a problem in relationships because I wasn't clear about what I wanted or clear about what I wanted from that person. Mm-hmm. And so it just made it muddy because I was afraid to be honest. Mm. But now that I'm like, this is what I want, then it don't make shit difficult,
Yeah, no. I mean, I told my current partner on our second date that I want to fuck him.
To which he was like, well, waiter, check please.
No, we didn't do it that night because you were at my house watching my kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, but you came back with your titty pulled out of your shirt. Oh my God, I totally remember that. Kenrya came upstairs like, oh, my bad. I'm like, bitch.
I didn't know it was out.
Put your titty away. Damn, I think I fucked up the levels. Recreating that. was like, bitch, y'all did have a good day.
We did. Really nice day.
Yeah, and then y'all got freaky in the car. Thankfully we have a wooded area over
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I don't care. Also,
Yeah. Anyway. So damn. Okay. Well, in this story, in the excerpt that you read, one thing that I thought was really beautiful was how she had henna all over her body. I guess that's one of the traditions, and he was like, "Show me where my name is."
yeah. Before he would even touch her, he was like, "Show me." And I was
Oh,
like, "What? Show you what?"
I think that is so sexy.
Yeah. His name was like hidden in the design. It's like, wow.
I was on Twitter the other day, and this chick posted like a picture of like some hand with henna or something, and she was like, "Oh, this henna is so beautiful," and this other chick,
I saw that shit.
and then chick was like, "That's nice, but it's nothing."
She's like, there's nothing amazing
there's
about
nothing
that.
amazing about it. She was like, "My sister's had to be done with needlepoint," and I was
Right.
like, "Yeah, bitch, get
Yeah.
that ass."
And then it started this whole thing of people like posting their
wedding
wedding
henna.
henna.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was so beautiful. So
because the original one, let's be clear, was done by a white woman. It was very,
it was like.
yeah.
It was like it was the equivalent of like that no, when they've been showing the clips from like Honey and Save the Last Dance with the white girls doing hip hop dance. It's
What's
very
crazy-
sanitized version of that.
I mean, when I was a kid, I don't remember watching it and thinking it was great, but I also didn't watch it and realize how terrible it was.
No, I even to this day, I get like secondhand embarrassment when I see white people dancing to hip hop on movies. Step show scenes, like Greek scenes and stuff, because it'd be like, dog, ain't nobody consult nobody. I was watching an episode of the Parkers where you're not a Parkers connoisseur.
I haven't watched it since it was on the air in the first place.
Nigga, I watch it at least,
I know.
I don't even want to say daily, at least 5 times a week. Wow. We watch the Parkers in this household. But anyway, Professor Ogilvy and the dude, I forgot his Torio. I don't know. That ain't his name. But anyway, they were like in a fraternity, and it was like Chi or something like that. And it was just horror. And I was just like watching, like, oh my God, like wasn't nobody Greek on the scene. So yeah, as a kid, I've always seen those and be like, ooh, honey, y'all.
You know who did it well? Oh, you haven't gotten that far.
Who?
There's an episode in This Is Us that you haven't seen yet. Yeah, bitch, you need to catch up.
I got left. I got tired of crying. Like, it was like,
I mean,
at first
bad,
it was a
so
good
much
cry,
happened,
but then it was just like, girl,
gratuitous.
like, honey, put
but
me
it's
on
still
watch.
so good.
Okay.
But something happens. I can't even tell you what it is because I don't want you to be spoiled.
Okay.
But there was one key detail that I was like, that ain't right. That's not the right color. You'll know what it is when you see it.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, so the henna was just so romantic, and I thought that was like a great, like, it was a sexy and intimate and sensual way to get in and get to know one another. Like, let me see where I'm written all over you. Also, I can see somebody nasty auntie, like, yeah, we gonna put this right here inside that thigh.
I honestly thought that that's what she was about to say.
I mean, yeah, it probably was. It probably just didn't get there. And yeah, I would love to like do something to my head while it's free, but I also don't want to be one of them white girls in Central Park appropriate. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to. Okay. But I mean, like, maybe I'll do some fancy like cuts or something. Not cuts, but you know, like when I get hair, shaped lines or something. Not like, okay.
I like it.
Yeah,
I
so
like it a lot.
you know, I got this little head. So in the story, Prince was seen, we said, is a Muslim. Is a Muslim. Amani is a Christian. And they made it work. I mean, it didn't seem like they actually talked out like the differences in their religions very early on. Have you ever dated across religion?
Does wholesale
5%er.
Sure. I've dated people that identified as 5%ers and Hebrew Israelites. Oh boy. I know about the mathematics. I know
What's that?
Oh God. So all the numbers stand for different things. So like 2 is wisdom, which is woman. A woman is a man's wiz. Have you ever I be your Noah, you be my whiz? He's saying you're my wisdom. You're my number 2, my 2. 7 is a divine number. Like all the numbers mean different things. Yeah.
We can tell
That's
you done
some
laid in bed listening to niggas talk about this
Girl,
shit.
I feel like it is a very specific New York experience when you date niggas that's like from New York, from the borough.
New York listeners, raise your hand if you dated a 5%er. And you know what? Most of the time, I will tell me if I'm right or wrong. Most of the time, you don't realize it until like you're in deep. Y'all like laying in bed after sex, and he's like, "You my whiz, good."
And I had never even heard of all of that before that nigga. So it was just
Midwest.
something new. Yeah, it was not a thing that I knew anything about. But then I started making associations and realizing what the fuck was going on. Yeah, it got kind of deep. I mean, I was a couple months ago, my partner was watching this show on cults, that People show where they cover different cults.
Yes.
And he was like, "Weren't you talking about this?" And it was Nubian Nation.
They went down to like South Carolina and scared all them white people, right?
Georgia, yeah. They moved from Queens to Georgia and had a whole fucking compound with fake ass pyramids and all of this stuff. Yeah, I was in the process of being recruited. Did not know that until I watched that documentary, that it was like a full-on cult and all the things that went along with that. I had no fucking idea.
That's fucking crazy. I can laugh about it now, but scary at the same time, because thank God you were of, right, sound mind to like
without even knowing the
push
full
back.
scope of it, being like, nah, that's not for me.
Like, yeah, I could totally see how some young girl or young person not really understanding. Because, again, like some of this is alluring and it draws you to
different.
Because some of it makes sense. It makes
Especially
sense to a certain level.
It's cloaked in this pro-blackness that you don't realize until you get in is anti-woman.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like we will step on women to attain the same privileges that white men have.
And yeah, because it's specifically anti-black woman.
Yeah.
Which is fucking crazy. But yeah. But all that to say, that's nothing like being a Christian.
now that we yeah. I don't.
Yeah, have you?
I don't think so. I've always dated, most of the men that I have dated have been like very, I'm spiritual, I'm not into church. And then their spirituality may be like an amalgamation of things, of various things, which I'm cool with. Like, because at the end of the day, I feel like all religion is just a bunch of different stairs, like a bunch of different stairways to the same heaven. Like we're gonna get up there and be like, oh shit,
Hey, bro,
you made it here too, like so I'm whatever, like however you choose to practice, as long as you like generally a good person, ain't out here fucking killing or
yeah, you
no,
have
you
some
out
kind
here
of a
fucking
moral
but yeah, you have
compass,
some sort of exactly.
yeah.
So I don't think that I can't recall dating anyone seriously that I've had a religious difference, like we come from different religions. Also, I wasn't raised in a point where it's like where that type of thing would be forefront in my mind, like, ooh, he's from a different religion. But I do know that now I tend to, I'm not really into guys that are like, oh, I'm atheist, just because I feel like you need to have some sort of Like, this shit is just too big and too vast and too expansive. And there is so much magic in this world that it's hard for me to, like, take seriously someone that can look in the face of that stuff and be like, but there's no divine power in this world. So it's so that, and that's one of those, like, just fundamental, because I'm perfectly fine with not knowing some shit or not knowing how some shit works. Like, actually, it's easier for, oh, I ain't got to know this? Cool. Like, at work, they get mad at me because I am the woman that's like, we don't need to, don't include that. Like, we're going to give you just the information you need to know. If you want to know more, ask. And I'm not going to withhold it, but I'm not going to overload you with information. That's how I feel with religion. Like, we're going to get to a point where you drill down to a certain, like, when I drill down to an atom, I don't know how the fuck that atom got here, what makes it quark and do the atom things, but I just know that there's a divine spark, and whatever you believe that divine spark to be, and so it's hard for me to, like, reason with people, because also to me that's what makes the world beautiful and magical and special and makes me feel special, knowing that there's a divine power out here that's looking out for me. And sometimes I do get a shit end of the stick, but it's gonna all come around and things work in my favor. So it's really hard for me to, like, be interested in men that flat out say I don't believe in God, or like, I don't believe that there's any divine power.
Yeah,
So
that's real. I'm thinking back to when I was dating and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm with you in that it would be ideal that they believe in something, because I live so much of my life guided by faith. That the idea that someone may perhaps poo-poo that, or try to make it, because there are some, and definitely not all, because I have friends who are atheists, but some atheists who I've come across who there are some atheists who I've come across who have not, how we talk about not yucking anybody's yum, where they yucked my yum as a Christian. And that, I think that's where the disconnect comes from, because I don't want to feel like I have to hold back on my praise or not express the faith that I have that gets me through, because this person thinks I'm stupid because I believe in something bigger than myself. That said, I don't feel like I couldn't be with somebody just because they believe something different than I do. But there has to be a mutual respect there, where we both attempt to understand what each other believes in and respects that is what it is. And even agnostic. And I respect, like, someone who doesn't know, right? Because that's not, agnostic say, I don't know.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I respect the hell out of that too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so part of this story, part of the plot of the story is that Amani rejects the idea of an arranged marriage because she wants to marry for love. But she doesn't wholeheartedly, she's not one of those, like, over my dead body. She's just like, I'm open to seeing who you might, because her parents had some guy and she looked at him like, okay, maybe. So she was kind of open to the idea of it, but very grounded in the fact that we're not going to get married unless we absolutely love each other and want to be together. This isn't going to be a, you show up, I show up. Oh, hey, we get married kind of thing. What are your thoughts on, and also, like, this story shows the nuance. Well, it's not even a nuance, but it shows, like, there's an arranged marriage is very different from a forced marriage. So this is an arranged, her parents want to put her in an arranged marriage, which is, hey, we hooking y'all up, y'all gonna get married. And all parties are like, yes, we're going to get married, which is very different from a forced marriage, which is just that. You're currently partnered and hopefully will be forever. But would you trust somebody to pick a partner for you? And if so, who?
Oh, shit.
Put your eyes back in your head, please.
Would I trust somebody to pick a partner for me? I mean, I think that that's what we're doing when our friends set us up, right? I think I would trust someone who knows me really well. I would not trust my family to do that. I have not lived in Cleveland for going on 21 years. Holy fuck.
I know we've been living here, well, away
Longer.
from home longer than we lived at home.
Yeah. And while, sure, my family knows me to a degree,
Y'all
they
don't
don't
know
know me
me.
the way you know me.
Yeah, like y'all knew me as a child. Y'all knew me living under someone else's roof.
And they know this image that they have of me as the one who got out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not. I think that they absolutely have this vision of who I am that is not really who I am,
Oh,
and that anybody that they picked would be based on the wrong fucking person.
that's interesting you say that because I think I have been my family has been I've been spending more time around my family. Like when my grandmother passed away, I was stuck in St. Louis for 2 weeks. And then going through surgery and treatment, I've had family like spending significant time. And I think this past, I want to say like past couple years, they are really like reconciling who they thought I was with who I am. And it's been very interesting watching them kind of put the two together. My younger sister is like, my family is like, oh my God, Erica, can you believe? My sister's like, that bitch been like that. Y'all
Right.
niggas just don't want to pay attention. Because, yeah, I am very much the one that got out. And I was always the quiet goody two shoes. Shut up, bitch. I'm the quiet one in my family, which is fucking scary. But I am. I mean, not as much anymore, but I was the quiet one. It was one of those ways that I just kind of stayed below the radar. I was either quiet or outperforming so that I'd be the good one. Codependency like a motherfucker. But it's been really interesting to see my family like put the two together. I remember I was talking to my aunt, the one that stayed with me, and she was like, "You smoke weed?" And I was like, "Yeah." Oh my God. People that don't do anything smoke weed. I was like, "Yeah, I smoke and then I go to work the next day." Like,
Right.
that's life. So I don't think I could have my family do an arranged marriage for me because, yeah, it'd be a hot mess. You know of anybody in an arranged marriage that had an arranged marriage?
I don't think I know anyone personally who does. I think some parents of some of my friends have arranged marriages, like some of my immigrant friends. But no one personally. But I mean, that said, I've heard lots and lots of stories about how they work well. You know?
So I think age has a lot to do with it also. Like I think had I been put in an arranged marriage at 18
Oh God.
versus, like it's just
Yeah.
I'm
don't
able
know
to
who you
kind
are.
of, yeah, I'm able to kind of grow with that person and we kind of grow together as opposed to
Or not.
throwing this black ass. But yeah, you're right.
I mean, I think about who I was at 18. I'm like a whole other ass person.
But you had experiences that shaped you to lead up to, certain experiences cause you to become, shape you into the person that you are now. If you're put in an arranged marriage at 18, or if you chose to be in an arranged marriage at 18, you'd likely be in more situations that would cause you to grow more with that person if that's what you like genuinely choose to do. And so yeah, that's very different than this 38, 39-year-old Erica getting thrown into shit. I couldn't be it was hard me being in a chosen marriage with a motherfucker in my 30s, let alone like somebody else picked him. I picked this motherfucker.
Right. Which I think is what brings me back to the whole picking thing, because I think that one of the things that has changed, at least for me, and I think for you too, is that my picker is better.
Yes, much better.
Yeah. So whoever were to do the picking would have to have that same sensibility.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible to learn to love somebody? Like if you if you walked into an arranged marriage situation and said, "Hey, this seems like a fit. I'm going to choose to love this person, learn to love this person in order to buy into the situation."
Yeah, I mean, I think that we choose to love and learn to love our family members. We learn to love the folks who are our chosen family. If you look at how your relationships with your friends change over time and how you can see certain things in them and be like, this bitch is wilding, but also still love her at the same time. And even with their romantic partners, like you're learning to love them. You're learning how to love them, right? What are their love languages? What are the things that make them feel loved? What are the ways that you feel loved? What are the ways that you want to express yourself, in terms of bringing those two things together? All of that to me is learning to love someone.
Yeah.
I guess it's just the timeline is different.
Yeah. I feel like this is a theme among a lot of the books that we have planned for this season. But love is love. There are different types of love for like the different relationships. Like have you seen the thing? I was sitting through I'm taking a polyamory course.
Agape love.
Yeah, I'm taking a polyamory course, and the first slide was like, what is love? And and they talked about the agape love versus the eros and, just the different types of love. But at the end of the day,
about it. Okay, actually.
They're all love, and they all have the same characteristics of this being a choice to, like choosing to stick with this person through the shit. And, so nonetheless, I think you really highlight that. And I think we're going to see that in some of the other books that we have for this season. Okay, y'all. So one of the things that we would like to do for season 3 is introduce a new segment that we like to call What's Turning Us On? Did we say that correctly?
Yeah.
What's turning us on? Okay, anyway. So in this segment, we just gonna put y'all on to some new shit that we love, enjoy, think you might be interested in. We'll make sure we provide links and all of that stuff so that you can get turned on too, in addition to listening to us.
And then you can use these things while you listen to us.
Yes. Okay, so
synergy.
The first thing that we are going to tell you about is this thing. It's called the G-Spot clitoral vibrator for women. Couples vibrator, waterproof and rechargeable clitoris G-Spot.
It's got the most descriptive name.
Simulator adult sex toy.
Purple.
Purple. Couple.
Lower D.
I read all that shit because that's the description on Amazon. So we got this on Amazon. Amazon is not one of our preferred vendors, but
this is
for this thing,
lives.
this is where we found it.
Yeah.
So I found this thing.
Wait, first describe it to the people.
Well, I was going to tell them how I found it and then describe it. Okay, so I found this thing. I follow somebody on Twitter, and she's a sex worker and was like, nigga, I almost died. Y'all need to try this. So I clicked the link on Amazon. It was like $30. So I was like, fuck it. Let me try it. Let me send it to Killa so she can try it.
No, and that's not what happened. I was in your room. Use it? No, you had it, but you hadn't used it yet. And I was in your room because you had just got your little chest to keep all your toys in.
I have this ottoman at the foot of my bed that I keep all my toys in. But yeah, okay.
And I saw it, and you were like, this chick said this shit the truth. And I was like, well, I'm going to get one too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, as I look at our Amazon account, because we niggas and share, it already puts you on blast. Like, you purchased this 2 times. So, thank you, Amazon. We're hoes. Okay, so, I'm going to describe it. Kenrya, you can chime in. The best way to describe it is it looks like a U, but one side of the U is thinner and shorter than the other side of the U, which is fat and longer.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's purple.
And it's purple and it's rechargeable. And what else did they say?
It
Couple.
vibrates.
So I fucking love this joint. First, it's rechargeable, so it has like a little magnetic thing. And one of the things that I find important about my sex toys, because I keep everything in my ottoman, I like being able to like quickly charge it and not have to like think about it. And it has like the magnetic charger, so you just kind of click it on. So that's what I like about it, among many things. It has a little button on the top that gets the vibration going, and then it also has
A remote.
I'm learning a remote.
Yeah.
I didn't know it had a remote
at first, but I haven't used it in a while.
Yeah. So the way that it works, it vibrates on both ends vibrate. So the way I use it, the big fat end, you put it in you. It's kind of like you put it in your vagina. And the little end goes in your vagina and kind of vibrates. And then the big end, the fat end, sits on top and it vibrates your clitoral hood and clit and all that stuff. Right? Well, that's how I use it.
That's how you use it. Do you ever use it with a partner, or do you?
I use it with a partner.
So you
that's
have
the only
it
time I've used it.
inside, and you have
So here's the thing. Not saying he had a weenus, but he didn't have a big dick.
Okay.
And so it was. I was able to work it.
So the way that I
feel like
use
it could if you stretch.
we tried.
Oh.
The way that it hurt. The way that I
like
use it.
ignorant amounts of lube and his weenus.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with a weenus situation. So I use it. I have the small. Well, I used a couple of ways, but when we tried to use it when we first got it, we tried inside, it didn't work. So then I put the little part on my clit and then the big part on my vulva, so that it was like kind of vibrating from the G-spot from the outside. So that's what worked for me. And then,
so you kind of lay it flat.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but your body has a natural curve, so it don't really have to lay flat. It's not like it just kind of opens up. Yeah. And so that's usually how I've used it. And sometimes like he'll use it if he's just like trying to get me off like independently. But the way that we use it most often is not the way it was intended. So if I'm on top, I use it almost like a cock ring, but it's got more size to it. So then the little part is in the front and it's on my clit, and then the back part is actually on my butt. So you get double vibration and penetration that you get to control. It is like my I'm coming. It's done.
Oh my God. Yeah. I like that. So
I love this little thing.
I love it because like I said, I was using it with the weenus, but it's great because not only I feel like with me and sex, it's like a 3-ring circus. Like I want to have everything go. Yeah. I'm like, where's the lions? Where's the tigers? I need the guy jumping through hoops. So I like this because I get the vibration inside, and then I get the vibration on my clit. But also my partner gets a vibration as he's like in and out of me. Now, when you use it like that, you can't be doing too much. You gotta
real simple,
you can't be. Yeah, you gotta just keep that shit simple. But it was great, and like I said, this dude had a good sized penis. Like I said, it wasn't because also you can't always do everything with a big dick.
No, it's true.
And his dick he had an acrobatic dick. You know, some dicks are made for tricks. Some dicks are made for tricks. That's the name. That's the thing we're coming out with this. But yeah, so he had a trick dick, and it worked really well. And bitch, I tell you, my eyes literally rolled back in my head like a slot machine. It was like,
Checkpots.
but yeah, so this is my good little toy.
Yeah.
I love it. I suggest everyone use it. Okay, y'all. So that's the first time we're doing this segment. What's turning you on? So yeah, hope this turns you on.
Hey.
Hey.
Till next time, we are Kenrya and Erica.
Two hoes making it clap. Tink tink.
This episode of The Turn On was produced by us, Kenrya and Erica, and edited by Ballistic. The theme music is from Brazy. Now you can support The Turn On and get off. Subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app, then drop us a 5-star review and you'll be entered to win something that's turning us on. Just post your review and email a screenshot to theturnonpodcast@gmail.com to enter. Our Patreon page is also live. Become a supporter today and you'll access lots of goodies, including the Turn On Book Club and 2-for-1 raffle entries. And don't forget to send us your book recommendations and sex and related questions. And follow us over on Twitter at The Turn On Pod and Instagram at The Turn On Podcast. You can find links to books, merch, transcripts, guest info, and other fun stuff at theturnonpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.